Euro, they got RS1, so, you know, GMD ones. So really, really cool that you can actually put a picture to your model too. So I like that. I like that smart action on that. You can also change the address on the fly, which again is cool too. You can actually toggle how each of the functions. So for instance, function 0, if you want it toggled, or you want it based on a moment, or you want it inverted, you can do that with the light. All these things, you know, you can play around with it right inside the actual without getting onto a programming track. So I think a lot of this is just going to take a learning curve to get, you know, comfortable and used to it. I know this is a big change from what I'm used to. I press save, and now I've got my address changed over. Okay? We can play around with this one. We can change some settings. But really, in essence, in a matter of about a minute and a half, I had it labeled. So I labeled it 1437. I labeled it CN 1437 actually. I set the speed setting to 128. I like 128. Some people like 28. Some people still use 14 speed step. I set the long address, and then I tweaked a couple of the CVs in a matter of about 5 minutes. If you've already had the ESU programmer, you could also tweak it in there. I think both of those products, you know, work hand in hand. If you get the system, I would get the programmer, because then you can see a little bit more fine-tuned CVs, more tables more efficiently. But again, basic to moderate advanced programming, the throttle is fantastic on using it. So now I'm going to kind of throw a monkey wrench into this system. So this one is an Athearn Genesis SD70 with Tsunami sound. Okay, so I'm going to go and select the local from my local list. So just like before, I have a master list of all the locals that I either programmed or used. So this one's already been programmed. So I'm going to mute it just so we get the sound, you can hear me better. I've already programmed this one on the programming track. Now, I know some people have been converting over soundtracks from ESU, and some people are just staying as is. Just off of my first-hand impression of how simplistic and how easy it was to program a soundtracks decoder on the ESU system, took me an extra minute and a half compared to the GMD one. So again, not an exceptional amount of deterrence. The only thing is, it doesn't have the Railcom features that are recognized in the lock sound decoders. But the Railcom, as Matt's indicated in several of his videos, it's an untapped market yet in the DCC for modelers. So again, really simplistic. So I got one more here that I'm going to demonstrate on, and then I'll answer any questions if anybody has any. So I got one more here that I haven't put on the track yet, and I haven't programmed. So this one here is a Bowser offering. It is an M636, and it's in the Delaware and Lackawanna paint scheme. Beautiful paint scheme. Wasn't too many units made of this in Bowser's run. I've always liked the Pocono railroads. So right now, I'm going to make the system search for the local. So I can do this in two ways. I can go into the drive command and bring it up, or I can go into create a local. So I'm going to go into create a local, and I'm going to put Delaware Lackawanna, or DL. The road number is 3643. So to answer your question, Chris, if you had this system as a standalone, you could not physically upgrade the chips. You would still require the programmer, because the programmer flashes the chips right to them. Basically, think of the programmer as a CD-ROM or a DVD burner. It can read and write your blank DVDs as many times as you want. You can write over them, read over them, go back and forth. That's one of the great things about with the ESU chip series, both the 8-pin, the direct boards, 21-pin, as well as the V4s. You can write on top of them back and forth as many times you want, just like a CD-RW and a DVD-RW. So think of the programmer as basically a DVD and CD burner. If you want to put a new file or a new movie, you can just load it up, get it done. So it's very robust, but the ESU cab control system doesn't replace the programmer. It's actually a system all in itself, but the programmer would be another complement that you could get with it, especially if you're making the conversion to have all ESU decoders, all ESU chipset, and you want to upgrade your sound as ESU has new files come out and other stuff like that. So anyways, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get this one programmed. So I'm going to go I'm in the locomotive setup feature, and I'm going to go into create locomotive. I'm going to name it, which was DL 3643. Address, which right now is 3. Okay. Gonna hit save. Now another neat feature is, if you don't want to do what I just did, and I'm going to do this right now, I'm actually going to have the system scan for locomotives. Because I have an ESU locomotive on the track here, you can actually scan for it, and I'm going to have it scan. Hi, Larry. And there's two other options. I had this on here before I did that search, so I'm going to put it back on and make the system do a search. Because it has an ESU chip, you can do the search. So I want to push it and make it try to do the search option. Yeah, that's correct, Mike. Basically, consider it like no different than an NCE system or a DigiTrack system or an MRC or a lens. So this unit right here, you're right, Chris. You can program on the main. You can program on a programming track. I've always liked using a programming track. So that's one thing that, but that feature is also there on an NCE system as well. So we're going to program this one. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change it over from the main to the programming track. One screen, you can go in there and type the address, the number you want. And as you see, you hear the locomotive clicking. So the program of the address is done. So it prompted me on the screen that I have a new locomotive to run. A new locomotive, an MLW 16 type. So I'm going to go into my locomotive list and I'm going to bring it up. So I have an MLW 16 cylinder 251E. I pull it from my select list. Sorry about that. Just had the back axle off. Pull it from my list. So it's got the momentum delayed. But anyways, we'll play around with the functions just to walk through it. So now we'll get into all the different CVs that this model has. Now that was just a quick intro video of the system. I plan over the next 2 weeks to do kind of a more in-depth video. If anybody has any questions, or if they want to clarify anything from what I showed today, please let me know. No, Larry, you didn't come late. You can watch it. You can watch the replay, okay? I will set up a bigger setup, like I said, in 2 weeks, and I'll do it over in the layout. And we'll go through more advanced stuff like that. I wouldn't say it replaces Digitrax, Larry, but I would say this system is... I have a higher opinion now of this system than I do of the Digitrax. I've seen some of the early YouTube videos of people having issues with the system. I didn't see any issue with the quick start guide that ESU provided, or the manual that's provided. I mean, you know, you start off with the quick start guide, okay, and you just work through it. The biggest thing I struggled with today was you got to plug in the Mobile 2 controller in my hand here for a minimum of 30 minutes. Beyond that, to get it charged, beyond that, that was the hardest thing. And a little bit of finicking with the pickups in the back here. Other than that, the system was very straightforward. I want to try advanced consisting the next time. Multiple unit lash up. I'm also going to try multiple manufacturer decoder lash ups and see how they work together. If anyone else has anything they'd like me to try out in the meantime on just, you know, that entry level, getting into it, getting it home, you know, your first day, first impression kind of the system, I'll definitely try it or answer any questions you have right now. But I would hope that this new offering will excite the market, both in the modelers too. I think it's definitely cutting edge on what it can do. For my first hand through it, I haven't even scratched the surface. The throttle is really ergonomic, which I like. I like that you could have it in one hand, you could have a switch cardless in another hand, or a little skewer if you're doing uncoupling. I think that's fantastic. This system will also work with the brand new throttle that's coming out from Iowa Scale Engineering. So again, that's kind of cool in itself. So that throttle will also work with NC, and Digitrax is coming. I will keep you updated, Larry. Check out on our page and on our newsletter too. And I will make a copy of this and I'll put it on our YouTube channel as well. And I will give everybody notice next time I do another video. Any other questions? Feel free to leave comments on our page. And thanks again for watching the video. And you guys have a great Super Bowl Sunday. And go Eagles!